To fool or not to fool? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous questions, or take up arms against a sea of queries and by opposing them become a fool. My apologies to the bard. But today is April Fool's Day, and so I'm going to make 10 scientific sounding statements, and it's up to you to decide which ones are true and which ones are false. Good luck. Let's start with something really cool. Absolute zero. You can't get anything cooler than that. Absolute zero is minus 273.15 degrees centigrade. It has long been thought impossible for a substance to be cooled to a temperature below that. That is until a group of scientists at the Max Planck Institute in Germany did it. The ultimate irony in all of this is they've not yet actually thought of an application for these supercooled particles. For the next one, let's get a little personal. The DNA in your body is a blueprint for building something, namely you. Every cell in our body has a string of DNA, and we have a lot of cells. So much so that if we laid it end to end, it would stretch from the sun to the earth. But not just once, over 2,000 times. Now that seems likely to be true, doesn't it? Given how many cells we have. Or is it? It's up to you. Let's go back to the world of near absolute zero. And what happens to liquid helium when it's cooled to nearly that temperature? When it is, it starts to act very strangely. For example, it defies gravity and will flow up the sides of its container and form a fountain, as is shown here on the right. Now, that seems very unlikely to be true, don't you think? But it's just crazy enough that it might be. Is it my imagination, or are these questions getting more difficult? Betelgeuse is a star in the constellation of Orion. It's a red giant. It is unstable and likely to go supernova any time in the next few thousand years. When it does, it could light up our skies for up to 2 months. Of course, that's only the case if this is true. For our next conundrum, we ask, what is the speed of blood? How long does it take blood to travel around the entire body? According to medical experts, it would take 60 seconds for an individual blood cell to make a complete circuit of the human body. Are the experts telling the truth, or is this just a scientific fiction? Trees have been the dominant plant life form on the planet for millions of years. But what came before them? Well, the strange answer is mushrooms. Giant mushrooms. True or false? Now this should be an easy one. What is the world land speed record for a bicycle? I'm claiming that it's over 160 miles per hour. True or false? We return to the realm of trees. Anyone who's ever tried to dig out an old tree stump knows how long the roots can be. What are the longest roots ever recorded for a tree? Some pine trees in Finland, believe it or not, have roots that stretch over 30 miles. Well, do you believe it or not? The thought of eating bugs is rather repellent to most of us. However, it is estimated that on average each of us unknowingly eats about 4,000 bugs and small insects each year on our food. If that's true, does it bug you? And for our last question, we think about how schools of fish communicate with one another. It's been found that herring communicate with the rest of the school by farting at each other. Is that true or is that false? So how many of those did you think were true and how many of those did you think were false? Now I gave you a hint at the very beginning when I misquoted Shakespeare saying, and by opposing them, become a fool. The fact is that every single one of those 10 statements were true. So if you said any of them were false, then, I'm afraid, April Fool. Until next time, goodbye.